1935. So yesterday we discussed about the introduction, and in this introduction we discussed about what all chapters we are going to discuss, or what all chapters we are going to study in Indian polity. And as I discussed that we are going to start the session with the first chapter, that is making of the constitution. And I gave you a little bit idea about the making of the constitution. For example, who made Indian constitution? Who was responsible for framing the Indian constitution? So what I said, that many people believe that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar alone was responsible for writing the entire constitution, which is the longest constitution in the world. But the fact is, the constitution of this country was not written by a single person. See, we believe that why Ambedkar wrote the entire constitution on his own, because we see the statue of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar with a book in his hand, that is the Constitution of India. So there is a perception that the entire constitution was written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And yes, it is correct that the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the father of Indian constitution. But the Indian constitution was framed by 299 members. And those 299 members were collectively called as Constituent Assembly. So what we can say is that the constitution was written by Constituent Assembly, and it consisted of 299 members. And out of those 299, one member was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. But when it comes to the contribution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is rightly called as the father of Indian constitution, definitely because of his contribution. He was known for his forceful arguments, logical arguments. So he was able to convince others when it comes to keeping his viewpoint. Okay, so let us start this chapter, and in this chapter we will study two different things. The first will be that who made Indian constitution, and it was Constituent Assembly. So first we are going to study that how Constituent Assembly was created, what all members were there, how many members were there, how the elections took place, and after this we will study the working of the Constituent Assembly. So first we will discuss that how Constituent Assembly came into existence. So what is the idea behind it? So let us start the chapter, and this chapter begins, the genesis of this can be traced to 1934. There are many people who believe that it all started from 1895, when the Constitution of India bill was presented, and in which Bal Gangadhar Tilak discussed about the Constituent Assembly. But formally we start with 1934. So 1934, M.N. Roy, he gave the idea of Constituent Assembly. So in 1934, M.N. Roy gave the idea of Constituent Assembly. So suppose if question comes in the examination that who gave the idea of Constituent Assembly, then the answer is M.N. Roy. So 1934 he gave the idea of assembly. Then next year in 1935, Indian National Congress for the first time. In 1935, Indian National Congress for the first time officially demanded Constituent Assembly from the British government. So in which year Congress demanded the Constituent Assembly from the British government? The year is 1935. In this year the Congress for the first time demanded Constituent Assembly from the British government. So what Congress did? They demanded for the first time, what they demanded? A Constituent Assembly to frame the Constitution of India. So this happened in 1934, then in 1935, and in 1940, British government The British government brought August offer. Now, what is August offer? In August offer, the British government accepted the demand of Constituent Assembly, but this demand was accepted only in principle. It means British government didn't specify that what all details, I mean, how many members are going to be there in the assembly, how it is going to function. All these details were missing because the British government accepted the demand in principle. So in principle means the British government didn't specify the details of the assembly, and they broadly accepted that yes, the demand is legitimate, the demand is valid. So in August offer, the British government accepted the demand. The British government accepted the demand in principle. In principle, it means they broadly accepted the demand without specifying the details of it. So this happened in 1940 August offer, and then comes 1946. Because actually our chapter starts from 1946. In real sense, this chapter starts from 1946. So that's why I'm straight away moving from 1940 to 1946. And in 1946, British government sent cabinet mission. Now, what is cabinet mission? Remember, this mission is very important for us when it comes to Constituent Assembly. Why I am saying it is important? Because the Constituent Assembly was framed according to the plan published by according to the plan published by Cabinet Mission. So, for suppose a question comes in the examination that according to which plan Constituent Assembly was created or Constituent Assembly was formed, according to which plan, then the answer is Cabinet Mission. So this plan is important for us because according to this plan, or I should say according to this mission, the Constituent Assembly was established. Constituent Assembly was formed according to the plan published by Cabinet Mission. So this plan is this mission is important for us. So that is why we will discuss Cabinet Mission separately, because this mission demands separate attention. So we are not going to discuss Cabinet Mission just like we discussed M.N. Roy, Indian National Congress, August offer. No, this demands attention. So we are going to discuss Cabinet Mission in detail. So Cabinet Mission was sent to India in 1946. So in 1946, Cabinet Mission was sent by the British government. And why it is called Cabinet? I mean, okay, it is the mission, but why it is called Cabinet Mission? Is there any reason that why we are calling this mission as Cabinet Mission? Yes, the reason is simple. This mission was sent by British government, and there were total 3 members in this mission. So we have to remember the names of all the 3 members. The first is Pethick Lawrence. Pethick Lawrence was also the head or chairman of Cabinet Mission. Then another member was A.V. Alexander. He was the second member, and the third member was Sir Stafford Cripps. Okay, so Cabinet Mission consisted of 3 members, and those 3 members are Pethick Lawrence, A.V. Alexander, Sir Stafford Cripps. And who was the chairman or head of Cabinet Mission? The answer is Pethick Lawrence. And why this mission is called as Cabinet? Because these 3 members were the cabinet ministers of British government. See, in India, Amit Shah is the cabinet minister, Rajnath Singh is the cabinet minister. Similarly, Narendra Modi is also cabinet minister. So these are cabinet ministers. That is why parliamentary government is also known as cabinet form of government, because the center or the power is in the hands of cabinet minister. So in Britain, there is parliamentary form of government, and in parliamentary form of government, the real power is with the cabinet ministers. So this mission was sent by British government, and 3 cabinet ministers of British government brought this mission to India. So these were the 3 members. And now, as we discussed that, we have to study this mission in detail. So let us discuss the details about this mission. So the first detail is this mission arrived in India on 24th of March 1946. So see, 1946 is the year, but the exact date on which this mission arrived in India, that was 24th of March 1946. So on this day, cabinet mission arrived in India. Okay. Then after a few months, on 16th May 1946, cabinet mission published its plan. Published. So on 24th of March, cabinet mission arrived in India, and on 16th of May 1946, cabinet mission published its plan. Now remember, this is the plan according to which the Constituent Assembly was created. Okay, so what is the importance of this plan? This is the plan according to which Constituent Assembly was created. Constituent Assembly was formed according to the plan published by cabinet mission. So now you all know that why this mission is considered important, and it is because this plan was responsible for creating the Constituent Assembly. Now because of this plan, Constituent Assembly was formed. So let us discuss this plan in detail. Okay, so as per the plan, the Constitution of India will be framed by Constituent Assembly, and according to this plan, there will be total 389 seats. There are total 389 seats in the, there were total 389 seats in the Constituent Assembly. Now on what basis you decided that there should be 389 seats in the Constituent Assembly? So the logic behind 389 was the population. See, the seats were distributed in according to the population. So one seat was allocated roughly to 1 million population. So 1 million population was given, approx 1 million population was given one seat in the Constituent Assembly. So total 389 seats. Now moving ahead. So out of those 389 seats, 296 seats were given to British India. Now what is British India? At the time of Britishers, a large part of a country was under the direct control of Britishers. So that part is known as British India. See, entire country was ruled by Britishers, but there is a difference. There was, majority part of a country was under the direct control of Britishers, but still little bit was ruled by princely states. So even the Britishers had control over princely states, but the internal affairs was handled by the princes of that state. So in the internal matters, usually British government refrained from doing anything, and overall the supreme control was in the hand of British government. But when it comes to internal matters, those matters were dealt by the princes or the kings of that region. So 93 seats were allotted to princely states. So out of those 389 seats, 296 seats were given to the British India, and the remaining 93 seats were allotted to the princely states. So again, as per the plan, elections will be on 296 seats, and the remaining 93 seats, there will be no election, there will be nomination. Now nomination means the prince of that particular or the king of that particular state is going to nominate anyone from his state, and that person will represent the princely state in the Constituent Assembly. So there is no element of election when it comes to princely state. There was pure nomination, but for 296 seats, yes, there was election. Now what happened in the election? Do you think that the normal public or the masses participated in the election? See, whenever the word election comes to our mind, we usually think that yes, election means we are participating in the election. But the fact is, there was no adult franchise in case of Constituent Assembly. the normal public didn't get the chance to vote in the case of election of Constituent Assembly. So we as normal public didn't participate in the election of Constituent Assembly. So what exactly happened? Who participated in the election? So before discussing who participated in the election, first of all, let us discuss that these 296 seats were again further divided into two parts, 292 and 4. Now these 292 seats were given to 11 governor provinces. Now what it means? See, you must have heard that governor of Bombay, governor of Bengal, governor of Assam, governor of Madras. So governor of Bombay. So Bombay is governor's provinces. Similarly, Assam is governor provinces. Madras is governor provinces. So there were total 11 governor provinces where British government was ruling through a governor. And the remaining 4 states were chief commissioner provinces. The remaining 4 states were chief commissioner provinces. Now, it is important for us to remember the name of these 4 commissioner provinces. So we will write the name of these 4 commissioner provinces. First is Delhi. Second is Coorg. For those who don't know where the Coorg is, first of all, Coorg is a part of India and it is at present in Karnataka. So Coorg. Third is British Baluchistan, and obviously Baluchistan is not part of a country. So British Baluchistan. And fourth is Ajmer Merwar. Ajmer Merwar. So there were 4 seats were given to chief commissioner provinces, and the name of those 4 commissioner provinces was Delhi, Coorg, British Baluchistan and Ajmer Merwar. Now moving ahead, as we all know that on 296 seats there were elections. Now who participated in the election? Remember, you must have seen that in Rajya Sabha we do not participate in the election of Rajya Sabha. Then who participate in the election of Rajya Sabha? See, we elect MLA, Vidhayak. Though these elected MLAs participate in the election of Rajya Sabha. So we elect MLA and these elected MLAs elect the members of Rajya Sabha. So similarly, we elected MLA and MLA elected the members of Constituent Assembly. So who participated in the election of Constituent Assembly? The answer is members of Legislative Assembly, and at that time they were provinces, so we used to call Provincial Legislative Assembly. At present we have Legislative Assembly in states, so at that time we used to call provinces. So the members of Provincial Legislative Assembly participated in the election of Constituent Assembly. So who took part? Who participated in the election? So members of provincial legislative assembly participated in the election to the Constituent Assembly. Now there is one more thing. There were total 296 seats on which there were election. So election was held on 296 seats. Now remember, these 296 seats were divided into 3 parts. The first was the seats for Muslim, the second was for Sikh, and the third was for general. Now what is general? General means except these 2. So except Muslims and Sikhs, all other communities came under general category. So be it scheduled caste, I mean Dalit, or Hindu, Christians, Anglo-Indian, all fall under this category. So, and why this happened? The reason was, so 296 seats were divided into 3 community: Muslim, Sikh and general. Now remember, Muslims were elected by the Muslims MLA. Similarly, Sikhs were elected by Sikh MLA, Hindus were elected by Hindu MLA. So likewise, like this, the election took place. So member of that community was electing its leader, which can represent them in the Constituent Assembly. So this happened in the case of election of on 296 seats. Then one more thing I forgot to mention, that these 93 seats, princely states decided to boycott these 93 seats because princely states were not certain about the future of Constituent Assembly, and initially they boycotted the Constituent Assembly, but later on, when India attained independence, they were certain that yes, what will be the future of India, what will be the role of Constituent Assembly, and then only after independence, princely states decided to become a part of Constituent Assembly. So initially they abstained from Constituent Assembly, but later on, after independence, they started participating in the assembly. So yes, 93 seats they decided to boycott, and now 296 seats were there, and out of those 296 seats, few seats were given to Muslim, Sikh, and then general. Then members of provincial assembly participated in the election. Okay, so now one more thing that we need to understand, that Mahatma Gandhi was a member of Constituent Assembly. All the famous personalities of that time were part of the Constituent Assembly, but Mahatma Gandhi was not a part of Constituent Assembly. So if this question comes in the examination, who among the following was not a part of Constituent Assembly, then remember, usually the option, one of the option is Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of Constituent Assembly. Okay. So now it comes to election. So in the month of July and August, 1946, elections were held on 296 seats. Now, when the result came, this result came as a shock to the Muslim League. Why I am saying that it came as a shock to Muslim League? Remember, out of these 296 seats, 208 seats, Congress won 208 seats, 73 seats Muslim League. So Muslim League won 73 seats, and the remaining 15 seats others. Others means small parties and independent members. So now you can understand that why this election was a shock for the Muslim League, and the reason is simple. See, why Muslim League came into existence? There was already one party, Congress. So why Muslim League came into existence? One most important reason was that there were certain section of Muslims who believed that Congress is an Hindu organization, and as a Hindu organization, it is not going to represent the interest of Muslims. So who is there to protect the interest of Muslim? Congress is essentially a Hindu organization. So Congress is not going to protect the interest of Muslim. So there should be someone, or there should be a party which represents the interest of Muslim. So that's how Muslim League came into existence, because for them Congress was always a Hindu organization. So when they realized that out of 296 seats, 208 seats were occupied by Congress, then they started to think that if Congress dominates the Constituent Assembly, then the constitution will be framed by the Congress. And if Congress frames the constitution, it means Hindus are framing the Constitution of India. And if Hindus are framing the Constitution of India, then Muslims will be treated as second-class citizen. And we do not want to become second-class citizen in India. So, and second of all, if Congress is in majority, then the relevance of Muslim League is under a big question. Now, the relevance comes to question when Congress dominates the Constituent Assembly. So, Muslim League started to consider different option other than occupying the seats in the Constituent Assembly. They won 73 seats in Constituent Assembly, but what they decided that Congress is going to dominate the assembly and the constitution will be formed by Hindus. Therefore, it is better for us to boycott the assembly and start demanding a separate state for Muslim, and that separate state for Muslim is Pakistan. It is not that just now the demand for Pakistan was started. No, this demand, I mean in 1940s, the term Pakistan came into existence. So, well, that will be taught in the history class. But yes, after the result, Muslim League decided to boycott 73 seats. So now you remember 93 seats which were given to princely states. Princely states boycott the 93 seats, and again these 73 seats were boycotted by Muslim League. So now when the assembly after election met for the first time, there were only 211 members. So out of 389 members, on the first day of the Constituent Assembly, only 211 members were present. There are many other places where 208 members are present, but after seeing a lot of books, after going through a lot of books, what I have realized that 211 is actually the correct answer. So on the first day of assembly, 211 members were present in the Constituent Assembly. Okay. So finally, the Constituent Assembly is created. See, as we discussed earlier in the starting, that in this chapter we are going to study two parts. The first part will be the creation of Constituent Assembly as per the Cabinet Mission Plan, and we discussed this plan in detail. There were 389 seats, and one seat was given to 10 lakh people. Then out of those 389 seats, 296 seats were given to the British India, which was under the direct control of Britishers, and then 93 seats were given to princely states. And when it comes to princely states, the internal matters were handled by the princes or king of that state, but overall the control was of the crown. Then what we saw that on 296 seats there were election, and on 93 seats there were nomination. So can I say that the Constituent Assembly was not elected, was not completely elected, and the Constituent Assembly was not completely nominated. So what we can say is that Constituent Assembly was partly elected and partly nominated body. You cannot say that Constituent Assembly was entirely elected or Constituent Assembly was entirely nominated. No, Constituent Assembly was partly elected and partly nominated, because out of 389 seats, elections were held only on 296 seats, and the remaining 93 seats were given to the princely states where there was nomination. Okay, so elected and nominated both. Now we will start the working of the Constituent Assembly. Now, from now onwards, we have to remember the important dates on which assembly functioned and what all function it performed on that particular date. So from now onward, we will discuss about the important dates on which some important event took place in the assembly. So now we will discuss the working of the Constituent Assembly. Working of the Constituent Assembly. So we will start from 9th of December 1946. So what happened on 9th of December 1946? On this day, 9th December 1946, Constituent Assembly met for the first time. So on which day Assembly met for the first time, or when was the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly? The answer will be 9th of December 1946. So on this day, Constituent Assembly met for the first time. So this is the first meeting of Constituent Assembly, and as I said, on this day 211 members were present. So how many members were present on this day? 211 members were present on 9th of December 1946. Then another point, who was the first person to address the Constituent Assembly? This particular point is not discussed in most of the books, but yes, this is a point. So who was the first person who started addressing the Constituent Assembly on this day? So out of those 211 members, the person who started addressing the Constituent Assembly was J.B. Kriplani. You must have heard this name. While studying history, you must have come through this name, J.B. Kriplani. So J.B. Kriplani was the first member to address the Constituent Assembly. Okay. Then J.B. Kriplani, after a few minutes, he invited the oldest member of the Constituent Assembly as the temporary president, following the French practice. So following the French practice, J.B. Kriplani on behalf of the assembly invited Dr. Sachidanand Sinha as the temporary president. So on Dr. Sachid Anand Sinha on this is appointed as the temporary president, appointed as the temporary president of the Constituent Assembly. So this question is seriously important for our examination. Many times this question has appeared in different examination, that who was the temporary president of the Constituent Assembly, and it was who was the president temporary? Dr. Sachidanand Sinha. Why he was the temporary president? Because he was the oldest member among all the members present on that day. So Dr. Sachidanand Sinha was the oldest member, and this practice is known as the French practice. So what we can say, that on 9th of December we adopted French practice and invited Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, or appointed Dr. Sachidanand Sinha as the temporary president, because he was the oldest member among all the members present in the assembly. So assembly, 211 members were present out of 89 members, and this was the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly. Now, after this, we are not going to discuss the 10th of December 1946. See, the Constitution took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. So we are not going to discuss all these dates. We are going to discuss only the important dates on which something really important happened. So after 9th of start with 11th of December 1946. So what happened on 11th of December 1946? So on this day, first task was to elect the president of the assembly, and this president will be the permanent president of the assembly. So on this day, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president of the Constituent Assembly. Remember, here president is the president of the Constituent Assembly. You should not confuse this with the President of India. In Hindi, we call President of India as Bharat ka Rashtrapati, but here president means Adhyaksh. We are not calling president as Rashtrapati in Hindi in this case. Here in Hindi, president will be called as Adhyaksh, because he is not the president of India. He will be the president of India on 24th of Jan 1950, 2 days before the Republic Day. But here he is the president of the Constituent Assembly, and he is the permanent president of the Constituent Assembly. So I'm not writing the word permanent. I'm simply writing that yes, he is the president of the Constituent Assembly. So he was elected as the president of the assembly. Then after president, there was vice president, and the vice president of Constituent Assembly was H.C. Mukherjee. You can also write Mukherjee, M-U-K-H-E-R-G-E. So H.C. Mukherjee was the vice president of the Constituent Assembly. Now remember one thing. In reality, there were two vice presidents of the Constituent Assembly. The first vice president was elected on this day. H.C. Mukherjee was the first vice president of the Constituent Assembly. But the second vice president of the Constituent Assembly was elected on 16th of July 1948. And the name of the second vice president was V.T. Krishnamachari. V.T. Krishnamachari. You should not confuse this name with T.T. Krishnamachari, who was a member of the drafting committee. There were total 7 members in the drafting committee, and out of those 7, 1 member was T.T. Krishnamachari, but he is V.T. Krishnamachari. So there's a difference between T.T. Krishnamachari and V.T. Krishnamachari. He is V.T. Krishnamachari, the second vice president of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so but he was elected on 16th of July 1948. So but this date is not important. We can simply write that he was the second vice president of the Constituent Assembly. So the second vice president of Constituent Assembly, V.T. Krishnamachari. Now the third important point is, who was the constitutional advisor? So on this day, constitutional advisor was appointed, and constitutional advisor was Sir B.N. Rao. Now remember, this name is important. You should remember this name, Sir B.N. Rao, Sir Benigal Narsingh Rao. He was the constitutional advisor, and I have seen many times that this particular point has come in the examination, that who was the constitutional advisor of the Constituent Assembly. Now, many students think that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the constitutional advisor of the Constituent Assembly, but he was not the, but actually Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of drafting committee, whereas the advisor to the assembly was Sir B.N. Rao. So you should not be confused between Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Sir B.N. Rao. Both had different role, but somehow their roles were connected, and this we will discuss later on, that why the role of Sir B.N. Rao was connected with the role of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We will discuss it later on. So on 11th of December, these three things happened. Now, on 13th of December, as we discussed, we are going to discuss only the important dates. So on 13th of December, what happened? On this day, Pandit Nehru introduced something really important. Now, what he introduced? See, we are writing this constitution, and there is some objective in our mind. Okay, so there are certain objectives in our mind because of which we are writing this constitution. We have to achieve those objectives. So there is a purpose behind writing the constitution. Now, what is the purpose behind writing the constitution? What are the objectives behind writing the constitution? So all these objectives were contained in a resolution called as objective resolution. So on this day, Pandit Nehru introduced an important resolution, and that resolution was objective resolution. So again, this is important for your examination, that who introduced objective resolution in the Constituent Assembly, or on 13th of December, objective resolution was introduced by whom? So these kind of questions can come in the examination when it comes to objective resolution. So on 13th of December, Pandit Nehru introduced objective resolution in the Constituent Assembly. And I don't know whether you remember this or not, but yesterday I discussed that preamble is a modified version of objective resolution. So constitution, the task of framing the constitution was over on 26th of November 1949. So before 26th of November 1949, it was the objective resolution, but after 26th November 1949, or on that day, it was the preamble. So before constitution, it was objective resolution, and once the task was over, from that day onward, it is called as the preamble after a certain modification, I believe. So on 13th of December, Pandit Nehru introduced objective resolution, and we all know, which will be which I discussed in the first video. Preamble was the first in case of polity. Pandit Nehru introduced objective resolution. Now, on 22nd of Jan, on 22nd Jan 1947, objective resolutions were adopted by the assembly. So when the resolution was adopted by the assembly, so objective resolution was adopted by the assembly on this day. So on 13th of December, objective resolution was introduced by Pandit Nehru, and on 22nd of Jan, it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so objective resolution is very important for your examination, and you should remember this point, that who introduced and when it was introduced. Okay, and when it was adopted. Now, the next important date, and the next July 1947, on this, national flag of our country was adopted. So national flag of India was adopted by Constituent Assembly, and when it was adopted, so this date is important. On 22nd of July 1947, Constituent Assembly adopted our national flag. And now, who designed Indian national flag? So national flag was designed by Pingali Venkaya. You should also remember the name who designed our national flag. Pingali Venkaya, who was from Andhra Pradesh. He was responsible for designing the national flag. So national flag was adopted on this day. It was designed by Pingali Venkaya. Then after 22nd of July, the next important date is 15th of August 1947. Now we all know that India attained independence on this day. So what we are going to discuss, we will discuss what was the effect of independence on the Constituent Assembly. So we are going to discuss the effect of independence on the Constituent Assembly, and the effect was, see, let us write independence. Now here we will write what happened before independence, and here we will write what happened after independence. Now remember, before independence, we all know how many seats were there in the Constituent Assembly. So there were total 389 seats in the Constituent Assembly, and out of those 389 seats, 296 seats were allotted to British India, and 93 seats were allotted to princely states. We discussed this in the beginning, but remember, Cabinet Mission introduced this plan in 1946. During at that time, it was India. I mean, Pakistan was also a part of India. So when the plan was introduced by Cabinet Mission, at that time, India was undivided. So these 389 seats were given to undivided India. It means India and Pakistan both had 389 seats in the assembly. But when India attained independence, and obviously Pakistan also attained independence, our country was partitioned into two, Pakistan and India. So few seats of the assembly were in the area belonging to Pakistan. So after the partition, few seats went to the side of Pakistan. So consequently, after independence, the strength of Constituent Assembly was reduced to 299 members. So 90 members went to the Pakistani side. So now we had 299 members in the Constituent Assembly. Now out of those 299 members, 229 seats were of Indian provinces. Now we cannot write British India. See, earlier it was British India, but now there are no Britishers in our country. So now we are not under the rule of Britishers. So obviously now we will call it as Indian provinces instead of British India. So Indian provinces had 229 seats in the assembly. So out of 296 seats, 229 seats were left in India, and the remaining 70 seats were of princely states. So what we can see, what we can conclude from this, the first thing that we can conclude is that 23 seats went to the Pakistani side, and we were left with 70 seats, and the remaining seats, again, out of 296 seats, we were left with 229 seats in the Constituent Assembly. So this was the effect of partition, or this was the effect of independence on the Constituent Assembly. And also remember that out of 299 members of the Constituent Assembly, 15 members were women. So this question is hardly asked in examination, but you should remember, since we are studying this chapter, so it is also important to understand that how many women were there in the Constituent Assembly. You must have heard the name of Hansa Mehta, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, Begum Azaz Razul. These all were among the 15 members of the Constituent Assembly. Those were women. Okay, so 15 members were women, and out of those 15 members, Hansa Mehta, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, one more name I took, Begum Azaz Razul. So these were the members of the assembly. And now 14 days after the independence, it is 29th of August 1947. So on this day, what happened? On this day, Constituent Assembly appointed the most important committee of the assembly. See, remember, there were 8 major and 13 minor committees in the assembly. So there were total 21 committees in the Constituent Assembly, 8 major and 13 minor. Now out of those 8 major committees of the Constituent Assembly, one committee was drafting committee. So drafting committee was appointed on 29th of August 1947, and this committee consisted of 7 members. So how many members were there in this assembly? There were total 7 members in the Constituent Assembly. Now, do we have to remember the name of these 7 members? Yes, it is imperative for us to understand, or it is imperative for us to remember all these 7 names. Yes, because it has appeared in the examination that who among the following was not a member of the drafting committee. So it is important for us to remember the name of all these 7 members. So the first member was the chairman of the drafting committee, and that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of drafting committee. So he was not the chairman of Constituent Assembly. He was the chairman of drafting committee. Before I move further, let me briefly explain what was the role of drafting committee. Many believe that the role of drafting committee was to frame the Indian constitution. I mean, the role of drafting committee was to make the draft of Indian constitution. But the fact was, the draft of Indian constitution was not prepared by the drafting committee. The actual work of drafting committee was to investigate the initial draft prepared by Sir B.N. Rao. Yes, I'm correct. The initial draft of our constitution was not prepared by drafting committee. The initial draft of constitution was prepared by Sir B.N. Rao. Now, there were many corrections required in the draft prepared by B.N. Rao. So, what all corrections were required in the initial draft? For that, a committee was appointed called as drafting committee. So what was the role of drafting committee? To investigate the examine the draft prepared by Sir B.N. Rao and to propose recommendations on that draft. So if someone asks that who prepared the initial draft of the Indian Constitution, so it was Sir B.N. Rao, and the task of drafting committee was to examine the draft prepared by Sir B.N. Rao and to propose or to recommend further improvements or correction, whatever required in this draft. So this particular committee was for examining the draft prepared by Sir B.N. Rao. Now, the first member was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of this committee. After that, we have to remember the other 6 members. Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer. Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer was the second member of the drafting committee. The third member was N. Gopala Swami. N. Gopala Swami Iyengar. You might find these names difficult, but remember after one or two, once you revise it for 1 or 2 times, then you will be able to remember all the 7 names. Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah, Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah. Fifth, K.M. Munshi. Remember, No sound. I think the sound is. I think I'm audible. I've been teaching for the past 50 minutes, and I think that the sound is audible. Let me check if there is an issue. Am I not audible? I mean, is there any issue? See, there is no such issue. Okay. Yes. Okay. So these seven members prepared. These seven members examined the draft prepared by Sir B.N. Rao, and now, after deliberations and after working for 6 months or 7 months, they prepared the first draft. So, drafting committee prepared the first draft of the constitution, and this first draft of the constitution was submitted in the month of February 1948. So, drafting committee introduced the first draft, or drafting committee published the first draft of Indian Constitution on in February 1948, and the public was given 8 months time. Okay, so public participated in the making of the constitution through the criticism. So public was given the time of 8 months. So after 8 months, the Constituent Assembly, keeping in mind all the criticism, they introduced the second draft. So the second draft of the the second draft of the constitution was published by the drafting committee on in October 1948. So we can definitely argue that public participated in the constitution framing process. How public participated in the framing of the constitution? Simply, the time period between the first draft and the second draft is 8 months. Why these 8 months? Because these 8 months were given to the general public. The comments from the public were also invited when it comes to the task of framing the constitution. So the public was given 8 months time, and after the criticism, the drafting committee published the second draft of the constitution, and now the third and the final draft was published by the drafting committee on in November 1948. So the first draft in February 1948, then after 8 months, the second draft in October 1948, and the third and final draft in November 1948. And now there will be total 3 readings. Now there will be total 3 readings of this on the third draft. Now, see, no one is going to ask these dates in the examination, but again, since we are studying this chapter, we must also remember. I know the frequency of it being asked in the examination is far less, but still, let us remember the 3 readings. So the first reading took place from 4th of November 1948 to 9th of November 1948. So this was the first reading, general discussion, and now the main part was the second reading. So the second reading took place from 15th of November 1948 to 17th of October 1949. Then the third reading began from 14th of November 1949 till 26th of November 1949. So this was the day on which the task of framing the constitution was over. So finally, what we can say is that on this day, 26th of November 1949, the task of framing the constitution was over, and on this day, we celebrate this 26th of November as the Constitution Day. So remember, when we celebrate our Constitution Day, so the Constitution Day is celebrated on 26th of November because on this day the constitution was over. The task was over. So this is known as Constitution Day. So on 26th of November 1949, what happened? On 26th of November 1949, the constitution was complete, And on this day, out of 299 members, only 284 members were present. And the constitution was signed by these 284 members, because on this day only 284 members were present. So our constitution was signed by 284 members on this day, 26th of November, when the constitution was over. So there were total 395 articles. It shows the exam that original constitution issue related to voice. No, I think everything is fine. I can see on my screen that there is no issue related to the sound. So resolution onward. Congress changed its goal, and now the goal of Congress was the complete independence. Now they do not require that dominion status. Earlier, they were demanding dominion status, but now they want complete independence. And the date which they decided for celebrating the Purna Swaraj was the last Sunday of the next month. So the last Sunday of the next month was 26th of Jan 1930. So this day was decided for celebrating the independence. So we celebrated Purna Swaraj or independence on this day, 26th of Jan 1930. So 26th Jan was important to us. Why? Because we celebrated Purna Swaraj on this day. So historically, 26th Jan was important, but we attained independence on 15th of August. So now India attained independence on 15th of August. Then what will be the use of 26th of Jan? So in order to ensure that this date remains relevant, we decided to enforce the constitution after 2 months from the date of its adoption. So that is the reason why we celebrate Republic Day on 26th of Jan and not on 26th of November. Had there been no such scenario, we would have celebrated the Republic Day on 26th of November. But because of the historical importance of this date, we are celebrating Republic Day on 26th of January 26th of Jan. So I hope the reason is clear that why 26th January was chosen as the date to enforce the constitution. And the answer is simple. We celebrated Purna Swaraj on this day, and the resolution passed Lahore session under the presidency of Pandit Nehru, and the meaning of Purna Swaraj is complete independence. So I think all the important points, I think I have not discussed all the important points, but yes, tomorrow again we'll be I'll be having the class from 8:30 to 9:30. So the remaining portion will be discussed by me in the next class. Okay, that is tomorrow from 8:30 to 9:30, and tomorrow we will be starting with the next chapter, that is the features of the constitution. So ideally there are around 16 to 17 features of the Indian constitution, and we'll be discussing each and every feature, including its significance, that why this particular provision exists in the constitution, what is the use of introducing or adding this provision in the constitution. So for now the chapter is somehow over. If few details are remaining, for example, what happened on 24th of Jan, national anthem, national song was adopted, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the President of India, a last meeting of the assembly, then again 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. This was the time taken by the assembly to frame the constitution. Approx 64 lakh was spent on the making of the constitution. Then we took inspiration from 60 countries constitution. Then English, the constitution English was written by Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada. In Hindi, the constitution was written by Vasant Krishan Vaidya. The task of decorating the constitution was done by two individuals. First was Nandalal Bose and the second was Beor Ram Manohar Sinha. So all these details, I will discuss these details in the next class, that is tomorrow. Okay, so for now, thank you everyone.